Dog Works Radio is sponsored by Alaska Dog Works. Check out their website at alaskadogworks.com.
Hello and welcome everybody. This is Robert Fulton and you're listening to the Dog Driver Show. I'm sitting here with my co-host Kurosh Porto. Kurosh, how's it going?
Oh, excellent today. Again, we are fortunate to have a very, very special guest among us today. Robert, why don't you go ahead and introduce our guest?
Today we're going to talk to Evelyn Beeter. She is a medalist for 2018 at the ISDRA Championships. She came in with the 8-dog class, and she is a racer from Chistochina, Alaska, and been racing for about 26 years. Evelyn, how's it going?
Really nice today.
Thank you very much for joining us. Can you do us a favor and introduce yourself and tell our listeners who you are and what you're all about, please?
Okay, I'm Evelyn Beeter, and I live in Chistochina, Alaska. I'm Athabascan. My clan is Atchatne, follow our mother's side. And my mother is Lena and Jerry Charlie. And my mother, Lena Charlie, she raced the quests, and she also did open races. And we grew up with dogs. We use dogs for hauling wood, hauling water, and all of the dogs that I remember, they're kind of good-sized dogs, so they can pull, and they also knew gee and haw, so when you go out in the woods, you can gee haw them around and get your wood and bring them back. And then I used to go on trips with my mom and dad, trapping trips. We'd go up Chistochina Trail. They had a cabin up there about 25 miles, and I remember riding in the dog sled with furs, all these animals, and then like spending the night out there, then coming back down.
Excellent, excellent. KP, do you want to get us started?
Yes. Evelyn, tell us a little bit about your kennel. I believe, I know you and I race you for years and years and years, and you have fantastic sprint fast dogs. Tell us about your lines behind your dogs, and also the number of dogs that you have and the programs that you have.
I have 15 dogs, and out of the 15, one is a young puppy, and one's an older retired dog, and the rest are race dogs. There's 12 of them, or 13. The kennel, out of the 12, there's 6 young ones coming in this year, so we should do better. Last year we didn't do very good because I had a mixture of older and younger dogs, and my lines goes back to I started out with this dog called Ruby. I call her Old Ruby because I have a young Ruby. And the Ruby came from Ross Saunderson. It was a half pointer and half of his husky line. And so that's where I started with that female and bred dogs. I bred her to a dog called Dollar from Eagle Ellis. And so that's where the Eagle stuff came in. And then I obtained another litter of dogs. I bought a female from I can't remember her name. Anyway, it was an Eagle dog, so we bred that back to a Streeper dog, and that's another line that came out. So it was a Streeper Eagle Ellis line, and I've been just kind of interbreeding, crossbreeding with them, and line breeding and doing all of that, and that's what I came out with. They're fantastic dogs. It just goes on. So
generations after generations.
Yeah, but Ruby was the foundation, and that's the
behind all your dogs.
Yeah.
I know that you live in Chistochina. I had the opportunity to race there actually and visit with you guys there. Tell me a little bit about your race in Chisto that you have every winter. How you guys organize it? What is that about?
We started that race probably back in 86, 87, somewhere back there, and it's been ongoing. We had an 8-dog class, but the trails are it's rough to have trails out there because you got Chistochina River, Copper River, Sinona Creek, and they all overflow with water, so we have issues. So we dropped it down to 6-dog class, and then we added on a 4-dog, and then we also have junior races for the kids.
Tell me a little bit about your junior race program. Why it's so important to have a junior program?
We wanted to have a junior program because, the lack of racers, we're trying to... Plus, it's part of our culture to try to get the kids to learn. I grew up doing it, and you learn how to take care of things and how to work and instill that good work ethic. So we wanted to do that with the kids, to continue dog mushing in Alaska, plus to teach the kids, work ethics. And so this summer we were working with 3 youth, and they've come to the kennels and they've helped paint at dog houses, they've helped pick up poop, they've helped water. And this winter we're going to work with them, like taking them to the races. Some are junior races, and then some are like young adults. So with the young adults, we're going to do like 4-dog class with them, and then the junior will do like probably 5-dog class with the younger ones.
If I could, Evelyn, I know that there's been a lot of press about the program that the Atlas run out off the road system. How is your program in regard to that? Is it related to what they're doing? They have their kind of mushing program in the schools. Is yours at all like that for the youth?
No, ours is different. Ours is more related to behavioral health.
Okay.
Helping youth to be able to, deal with all the problems and issues that they have. And it's just to help them feel good about themselves, related to self-esteem. And we're also doing some work in the school. And we have counselors also involved with the process. It's just to help the youth deal with what's going on in their lives. We also do videoing with them. They have cameras and stuff. We've hooked up cameras to the sled, and we have a young lady that's doing all the filming, and so they're putting it on the computer, and that's part of the process too, to learn and also to go over what they've learned about themselves.
Right.
Evelyn, I've seen your family, yourself, your mom on race sites. I recall actually chatting with her at the Montana Creek race a few years back. When she raced back in the earlier years, what was the difference? And were you involved in that in her racing career at all?
Yeah, as kids we had to help her. We had to haul fish because we're giant fish for the dogs, and so we have to go to the wheel with her and check the wheel, bring the fish back, cut the fish, hang the fish, and then help feed the dogs and help her in the wintertime, help her hook up, and just everything. We're involved with her throughout the whole process. And she had she ran open team, so she didn't do the limited stuff like what I do now.
Yeah, I recall chatting with her about open class also. What is fascinating is how the sled dog sport is part of the Alaskan Native culture, and every time I talk to the old timers, I call them, they talk about the trails, the races, the heritage which is behind our sport in this state. And as you know, Robert, we have listeners from all over the world, and for Alaskans, we understand this lingo, we understand this lifestyle, and it would be great for people overseas, people in the lower 48 to listen stories and from Evelyn for other drivers who are part of our culture, I would say, and understand how all of that started.
I agree. And what I would like to find out is kind of a comparison between sort of the profession as a dog driver, like you mentioned in Europe, where it is their job to train and race and participate, whereas yours, it's more of a lifestyle and kind of a cultural thing. Can you talk a little bit about sort of the differences between the two, like being a professional athlete versus being identified as a dog musher or a dog driver?
Well, like as a professional, you want to go fast and you want to have super dogs, and you spend a lot of money on dog food and spend a lot of money on equipment and all of that. And I try to feed my dogs fish like how I seen growing up, like my mom. We use the dogs for work. It's like a partnership between the dogs, between man and dog. And so they use the dogs. That's their survival. That's how they survive, using the dogs. And so, like with my mom, they started out with dogs being pack dogs. They put packs on them, so like if they went out hunting or whatever, they can load up the dogs with some of the moose meat, so the dogs help bring the food back, to the camp. So that's how she knew dogs, was through pack, and she had a dog. And then eventually when she moved to China, She was born in Chistachina, but she lived her life up in the Besna, Twin Lakes area. And so when she moved down to Chistachina, she got into dog mushing because, they start having races and stuff when she had dogs, when she was using them for work. And then she got into the dog mushing through Toke and Fairbanks and
Right.
And then myself, it's like it's all more about racing and winning and all of that. But I'm going to keep a few dogs still even when I retire because you never know what may happen.
So to you then, Evelyn, it's sort of kind of a middle ground between two worlds. It's sort of this cultural heritage that you have and, that lifestyle thing versus now you definitely want to go out there and compete on the highest level. As we mentioned at the top, ISDRA medalist, you have to be a top-notch dog driver to be up there. So I think that you're kind of on that cusp, at least in my understanding of kind of that cultural part versus the professional athlete part. Am I right there?
Yes. Our dogs, when we were growing up, they're big huskies, And then I had huskies, and actually I had a husky called Outlaw. He ran the Fur Rondy one year with my mom. She ran it one year. And then the following year, he ran the Yukon Quest.
Wow.
Same dog.
Same dog.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. And those are huskies. And it's like, and then I really got into it. 93, I bought like 4 dogs or something. I had a couple dogs anyways. And I kind of evolved into getting the hound dogs, trying to go faster and being very competitive. I like to be competitive anyways. So.
Yeah. As you mentioned, all of us, the sprinters, more and more we have the hound mixes, and your dogs are really houndy. Mine, all the top teams, usually they have a lot of higher percentage of English Pointer, German Shorter, Silika Hounds, Greyhounds in it. Tell me a little bit about, in Alaska we call them village dogs, right? What was the difference as you grew up between the village dogs, we call them Alaskan Huskies, we call them village dogs, and the dogs that you and I are running today?
Well, the village dogs, they're more maintenance-free than the, than the hound dogs, who is so high maintenance.
Yeah.
It's like, when we had dogs, they lived out there in their dog houses, and they ate fish and a little bit of rice and then maybe some kibble. And they survived. They were healthy and, they ate good that way. Nowadays, my gosh, I have to build a dog barn for my dogs because I live kind of where it's cold, so, and insulated dog houses, and, then they got to wear coats if it's a little too cold when we're training, and really lots more time goes into the hound dogs than it does into husky. The hounds, they also eat a lot of food in comparison.
That is true. I feel you, Evelyn. You're in the same boat. Coats and insulated houses, dog houses heated, dog barns, and different harnesses, different vitamins and minerals and everything for those all to go faster, right? A little bit faster.
Yeah.
Definitely. So, are you planning any litters or any new puppies for the upcoming year?
No, not yet. No, I have, like I said, 6 young dogs, and it's like I want to be able to really work with them. It takes a lot of work to have puppies, especially like if you're working full time, and it takes a lot to handle all of it. Like when I travel, it's like I find someone to take care of the dogs, and then you worry about them, especially in the middle of winter, and it's like so I try to keep my kennel small. I don't try to go overboard and have too many dogs. I work with what I have.
And a lot of our listeners may not know, but Evelyn is a CEO of a corporation. And how do you balance between your professional life and your sled dog life?
Well, good thing I only work a half a mile away from home, because I'll go to work in the morning, then I'll zip home at noon, water the dogs, clean them, run back down to work. Then I'll go home about 2 o'clock and hook up the dogs. Fall time, it's easy because do cart training with 4-wheeler, so I have plenty of daylight, so I'll go home a little bit later, like about 3, and run the dogs. I'll usually do 2 teams. And then in the wintertime, it's dark, so like 1 o'clock, I have to be there to run the dogs in order to not run them in the night. I don't like running at night because we're in the back. We run in the back behind my house, and there's a lot of moose that hang out there, so I kind of...
They don't like sled dogs that much,
Yeah.
They don't. What are the races are you targeting this year? In what class, Evelyn?
I'm going to run the 8-dog class this year, and hopefully get down to Montana Creek. I think they usually have one race there, so I'm going to try to hit that. And then Anchorage races. I love racing at Anchorage because it's challenging for me and the dogs because you never know what you're going to run into. And also Eagle River. I love going to the Eagle River Classic. That's a fun race.
It's a wicked fast race, isn't it? I remember the first time when you raced that and you're like, whoa, that is fast.
Yeah. Kind of like had to hold the dogs back. It's like, oh my gosh.
That is interesting. Are you going to go to Tok this year?
Yes, if they have that race. If it's not
the weather permitting,
55 degrees.
Evelyn, I would like to trace back a little bit to the kids program that you talked about earlier in the show. You talked about it being focused on behavioral health, and as you know, especially up here in Alaska, kids these days have different things to tide their time, and unfortunately, a lot of times that's not doing things that their parents or their grandparents want them to do. They would prefer to stay inside with video games and their iPads and all of that. What do you do to motivate these kids to be involved with something that is so attached to their heritage? I know it's kind of a district-wide program in the Copper River Valley. How do you get them excited to be involved with this?
Well, like at the Cup River School District, they have a program that's called a Trek program, where they do like different things like woodworking and just like experience doing things like woodworking and rafting and that type of thing, and kind of educating them along the way. So this program is going to be implemented into the school, and we'll bring like a dog to school, or the vet will come and do a presentation, or they'll actually go out and do the dog sledding. We bought a little trailer so we can haul our sleds and haul dogs in a crate and just go down to the school and be able to do that, and really try to get them involved. We were thinking, how can we get them really involved? So if you go to the school and be able to do it as part of their curriculum, I think we'll be able to do it. And also if they're hands-on, if they're with the dogs, learn how to harness, learn how to get on the sled, learn how to ride it, learn how to wax, learn how to do all of these things that you need to do. And also by feeding the dogs and doing like vet care, like in a couple of weeks we're having the vet from Copper Center come up and do, she's going to do dog shots and worming for our 2 kennels. So the kids will be involved, and they're also going to do the filming, and then she's going to do a little presentation on dog care to the kids there.
So one last question in regards to the kids program. How do you plan to measure success with that? Is it just the involvement, or do you want to go to the next level somehow?
They are doing a document. That's videoing.
Okay, so
filming.
So the success would be some type of documentary or something of that nature. It's not necessarily going out and racing or something like that. It's just having that involvement in an area that may not have programs like they used to have back in the day, right?
Right. What's happening is that they go out and they film, and then they're going to put it all together on the computer. And then they're going to identify themselves, what they've learned and how they feel and all of that.
Excellent. KP?
No, I think it's a fantastic idea. It's great to have our juniors and our youth involved in our sport. Not only keep them interested and also will keep them out of trouble, quite honestly. As you mentioned, a lot of kids are on their iPads and iPods and iPhones right now instead of being outdoors, hunting, fishing, running, and being part of our culture.
Right.
And it's really good, too, because, we have the dogs, so we can be able to do that with them. Parents, it's hard for them to work and have, a little dog team for their kids and whatever. So I think this is really awesome that we can have a dog team for kids that don't own dogs or have no access to being able to use a dog team or anything. So,
is this program, Evelyn, only in Copper River School District? Or
Yes.
So only Chistochino, Gacona?
It's Chistochina, Gacona, Copper Center, Mentasta, Cantwell, Golcana. And Taslina.
So quite a big area for sure. So KP, we have just a couple of minutes, and I have one last question that I'd like to ask at the end of the show to Evelyn, but do you have anything else?
No, I'm all ears right now.
All right. On our other show, Mushing Radio, I always ask our guests the same question. I would be interested to hear your answer, and I think we already have heard it. But my question is, if somebody were to come to you and offer and ask for some advice, they're just getting involved with mushing, whether they're kids or adults, what would you tell them as that one piece of kind of, big advice could you share?
It will take a lot of time and hard work, but at the end, it's very enjoyable,
Okay, very good. Evelyn Beeter is our guest today. Evelyn, do you have a website, a Facebook page, anything you can share that our listeners can follow along in your races and kind of in your travels?
I use my Facebook. It's under Evelyn Beeter.
Okay.
And that's what I use. I post all pictures of dogs and whatever I'm doing with the dogs. It's mainly for the dog.
Excellent. Evelyn Beeter is our guest today, a native musher from Chistochina, Alaska. Check her out this year on the sprint circuit. And on behalf of our guest today and my co-host, KP, this is Robert Forto for The Dog Driver. We will see you guys next time. Goodbye.
From Dogworks Radio, this is Mushing Radio. We hope you enjoyed this episode, and we invite you to subscribe in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or wherever you get your podcasts. You'll find a link on the episode notes. You can tap or swipe on the episode cover art, and you'll see some offers from our sponsors. You can support our show by supporting them. If you like what you have heard, we would love it if you could give us a 5-star rating and tell your friends how to subscribe too. Your hosts are Alex Stein and Robert Forto. Our producer is Robert Forto, created for Dogworks Radio. Did you know that Alaska Dogworks trains service dogs for those in need throughout North America? Each and every service dog that is trained through the Lead Dog Service Dog Program and Michelle Forto and her team has an individual training plan. We train for autistic, mobility, psychiatric, and PTSD for our soldiers for service work. If you know of someone that may need a service dog, please take a moment and check out Alaska Dogworks on social media and at alaskadogworks.com.